Well, we've got a little bit of breaking news this morning regarding the NCAA tournament. Obviously, didn't happen last year. Sounds like the NCAA is making it a high priority to make sure that it happens this season. And the news coming out is that the city of Indianapolis will be the host of the entire NCAA tournament. Obviously, most years you've got different pods in Spokane, Seattle, Portland, across the country that different teams go to. And so it's going to have a different look this year. I think that the NBA bubble we all saw worked. I think
Definitely.
the NCAA is looking at that format and saying,
Yeah.
listen, if this is going to happen, we need to control the environment. We need to have them all in one city. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's a great plan. You love to see the NCAA this focused early on the tournament. I think after last year, they knew, we have our feelings on the NCAA, but the NCAA is not going to miss the tournament twice. It is such a big factor for the NCAA, but good for the players to see them this focused because it's a great showcase for the players. I mean, that should be the priority. You know, these guys work their whole career to get there, so you want to see them get that opportunity. And, props to the NBA. We've talked about Adam Silver being one of the best commissioners in sports and laying out kind of this game plan early in the pandemic, figuring out that it would work. And now we're seeing other sports take after that to ensure that, life can kind of somewhat proceed in 2020. Now we're in 2021, of course, thankfully. And good to see things getting back a little bit to normal.
Yeah, sources say that there will be a bubble established similar to that of the NBA's bubble in Orlando. Of course, we know with the NCAA that anytime money's involved, that's the reason this is going to go down, is they can't miss that money 2 years in a row. But it does sound like we have the venues on what that's going to look like. Lucas Oil Stadium, that's where the Colts play, was originally set to be the Final Four. So what we're hearing is that Lucas Oil Stadium will have two courts, kind of in high school basketball state championship format. Two courts in Lucas Oil Stadium. They won't play at the same time. So that's fun. Bankers Life Fieldhouse, that's where the Pacers play in Indy. Hinkle Fieldhouse, awesome venue where Butler plays.
Yeah.
I will say that right now that is where I'm hoping the Zags end up. I think that'd be an awesome venue. And then you've got Hinkle Fieldhouse, which is actually, Hinkle Fieldhouse is Butler.
Yeah.
Indiana Farmers Coliseum. It's where their amateur hockey team plays. Mackey Arena, that's Purdue, just an hour away. And then Assembly Hall, which is where Indiana plays, just an hour away. And
Iconic stadium as well.
yeah, you're looking at this and you're going to have 6 venues, but 7 courts with the 2 courts at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah.
I think the thing we're trying to figure out that hasn't come out yet is, does the NCAA tournament, with all these kids being in a bubble, the extreme cost to put these teams up in hotels, do we see the same schedule and format that we're accustomed to, or are we going to see March Madness happen in a lot shorter time span?
Yeah, that's a really interesting conversation. We talked about it a little bit, here before this, but how do you set that up? Normally, you think about how many courts are in that first round. I think there's usually 8 different locations.
Yeah, I think there's 8 pods to start.
Yeah, right. And so obviously you've got 64 games spread out over those first 2 rounds, really, over a lot of courts. Now we've obviously have less travel time to account for. You can just have a rest day in there. But at the same time, it's going to take longer to play those games in those first 2 rounds. So is this first round going to be, Thursday through Sunday, second round Monday through Thursday? That's going to be an interesting thing to see. I'm not going to complain if we get some midweek basketball that second week of March Madness.
Yeah, I think, in the normal pods, though, if they have these West Coast cities that are hosting games, normally they only have games going on later in the day. Those East Coast are the ones that play the 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m. Start. So I think what you're going to see with these venues is they're going to be hosting games 9 a.m. Pacific time till probably 9 p.m. Pacific time. What's really interesting to me is once we get through those first 2 rounds, I mean, if there's normally 8 pods, looks like we've got 7 courts. So I think that the first 2 rounds we can probably knock out in that same format. But once you're done playing on Sunday, let's say that you play in the round of 32 on Friday and Sunday, you're going back home for a couple days, and then you're traveling across the country to your Sweet 16 venue on Wednesday or Thursday. So if you take out those travel days, my question is, are we going to see the round of 32 finish Saturday, Sunday, and see the Sweet 16 Wednesday, Thursday? Are they going to keep these teams in Indy and keep them there for 5 days just waiting for the TV calendar to roll around for the weekend? That's what I think is going to be really interesting is, are we going to see this take a span of 3-4 weeks? Or could we crown a champion possibly within 10 to 14 days because they're all there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great debate, really. We're going to see how it shakes out. And it's going to kind of change how you game plan a little bit, too. If they go with an expedited schedule, normally in between rounds, you're usually looking at, like we said, 4 to 5 days. That's giving coaches more time to game plan that first matchup. Of course, the second day when you play somebody, that's always a quick turnaround. But that first one, there's a lot of game planning that goes into that. So that's also going to be something these teams factor in is, how does that change things on that end of things? Are they going to have 24 hours to game plan for each matchup, maybe 48 hours? Or do they have that normal 4 or 5 days?
Well, the NFL season just ended yesterday. I wasn't so sure we would see a full NFL calendar. We have up to this point. And even though we had the heartbreak of last year's NCAA tournament, it seems like one thing's for sure, that we are going to get March Madness in 2021.